understand how these equations are simplified, we will first come to our objective. Our first objective is to find out the mathematical form of this velocity profile, how u varies with y. Okay. So, that is our first objective. To satisfy that objective, what we will do? We will solve the fluid flow equations. When you consider the fluid flow equations, remember that you have the continuity equation that has to be satisfied always. And what is the form of the continuity equation that we are looking for? Remember, we are talking about incompressible flow and 2-dimensional incompressible flow, because effectively the flow is 2-dimensional in the xy plane. So, 2-dimensional incompressible flow, you have the continuity equation partial derivative of u with respect to x plus v with respect to y, that is 0. Okay. Now, you consider the assumptions one after the other, come to fully developed flow. See, these are the important assumptions that we are going to follow for the problem that we are considering. So, when you have fully developed flow, then clearly this term will become 0. That means, by imposing the constraint of fully developed flow, what does the continuity equation give us? V is not a function of y, right. So, V is not a function of y. Since V is not a function of y, if we may find out that what is the value of V at some particular y, that V should be true for all values of y, right. So, solution for V is not that difficult if we just have to find out that what is the value of V at some point which is known to us, say at the boundary, for example. So, if you look at the boundary, at these points what is the value of V? 0, because of no penetration boundary condition. So, because of no penetration, the V is 0 at the wall. So, since V is 0 at y equal to wall, so there are two walls, one is plus h, another is minus h. That means what we can say, that V is 0 for all values of y, because V is not a function of y. So, at some particular y, once we have found out the value of V, that should be true for all values of y. So, this means that V is equal to 0 for all y, and when we say that V equal to 0, this is not an approximation that V is approximately equal to 0, this is V is identically equal to 0. Later on we will come to certain situations where we will have V is much less than u, that is V is not 0, but we may consider it to be 0 as compared to u. Those are different cases. This is a case where it is not an approximation, it is just an exactness. So, when V is equal to 0, then basically you are having to deal with only one velocity component, that is u. Now, keeping that in mind, let us write the momentum equations or the Navier-Stokes equation. So, we have the Navier-Stokes equation in terms of the coordinates Cartesian index written. So, let us write it for the x and y components. For convenience, we will write it in terms of first the y component, because it will nullify many effects. So, let us write the y component. Y component means I equal to 2, Navier-Stokes equation. So, you have rho so u2 is the velocity component along x2, which we give an identical name as v. U vw are the velocity components which we use as simple notations. We are also assuming constant properties. And what is the body force along y direction? Let us consider an extreme case as the vertical and extreme case as horizontal. The more common case is neither horizontal or vertical, but inclined. So, I mean arbitrarily inclined. So, let us consider that we are talking about a channel which is like this. X is the coordinate along the channel, y is the transverse coordinate, and the acceleration due to gravity is acting along this. So what is the body force that you will have? So you should look for the body force component along y direction. What is that? So you have this g, you have its own components. Let us say that this angle is theta, that is the angle made by the horizontal with the axis of the channel is theta. So then this angle is theta, so it is minus rho g cos theta. Okay. Now let us look into the different terms. First, see, look into the assumption steady flow. So this will be 0. See, always see, this is a systematic way of looking into the problems that we have with the use of the Navier-Stokes equation. First write the full equation, then see what are your assumptions, accordingly you make a simplification of the equation. So do not remember any equation like a formula. So we will always start with the Navier-Stokes equation and come up with the simplified form based on the assumptions. Okay. So this is steady flow. Then next term, see, V is 0, therefore whatever is involved with V, there is no gradient of V as well, so these terms are 0, therefore these terms are all 0, and then this gives you is equal to minus rho g cos theta. So if you integrate it, you have P as minus rho g cos theta into y, say, plus some function of x, right. Next let us look into the x component of the momentum equation, which will be the important equation for getting the velocity profile, but the background is important, otherwise you cannot simplify that equation. So let us write the x component. So let us substitute different terms. First steady flow, so the first term is 0, then next term fully developed flow, so this is 0, because of fully developed flow V is 0, so the entire left hand side becomes 0, and that gives a lot of advantage because now the non-linear partial differential equation has become a linear equation. Okay. Now come to the right hand side. Because u is not a function of x, its first order derivative with respect to x is 0, and therefore second order derivative is also 0. So, and what is the body force? Just look into the figure and say what should be the body force along x, minus, okay, just for bx we will substitute minus g sin theta, right. So it is rho g minus rho g sin theta. So what you have, that mu into okay, this is what we can write. So P has what? P is minus rho g cos theta y plus rho g sin theta plus fx, right, plus rho g sin theta x plus fx, that is by substituting p from there. Which one? This one? Yes, right. This is plus. Okay. Then whatever in the bracket, it is there. So substituting p from the what we got from the y momentum equation plus the rho g sin theta x term. Now if you see that anyway partial derivative of this with respect to x will be 0 because this only contains y. So the remaining terms, this is a function of x only and this is a function of x only. Therefore this term is a function of x only, and if you see the effect, what is this term actually? This term is just like a pressure which is varying with x plus the gravitational head, because what is x sin theta? So if you go from say this point to this point which you traverse along x, then this height h is x sin theta if this distance is x. So that is like rho g h, okay. So you have some form of pressure which is varying with x on the top of that rho g h, so it is giving you a piezometric pressure effect fx plus rho g h. So and the important thing is, since this is varying with x, we can just write this as dp star dx, where p star is fx plus rho g h, right. And why ddx not partial derivative? Reason is clear, these are only functions of x and this becomes 0 when partially differentiated with respect to x. Left hand side, what do you get in the left hand side? See, u is a function of y only, therefore the left hand side is mu d2u dy2, okay, because u is a function of y only, so partial derivative and ordinary derivative are the same. So now you have an equation where the left hand side is a function of y only, right hand side is a function of x only, right. It is possible only when each is a constant, otherwise you cannot have an effect where some function of x will nullify some function of y. So this implies that each equal to a constant, say the constant is equal to c. So once you have each equal to constant, the remaining work will be easy because you may integrate it twice to get the velocity as a function of y. So let us quickly do that. So if we integrate it with respect to y, you have mu du dy is equal to cy plus c1, right. Now let us fix up a domain in which we want to solve our equation. See, the domain is symmetrical, the top half and the bottom half, they are symmetrical. So we may just solve it for the top half, the bottom half will be just the mirror image of that. So for analytical calculation that is not necessary always, but if you want to solve it numerically, reducing the size of your effective domain by utilizing the symmetry solves your computational time, I mean saves your computational time. So it is something which one should always utilize if you find symmetry. Remember, symmetry should be in terms of three important things: symmetry in geometry, symmetry in boundary condition and symmetry in physics. So we have to make sure that all these three things are maintained, and here all those things are maintained in the top half and the bottom half. Now next is using the boundary condition. So our domain is now from y equal to 0 to y equal to h. So what is the boundary condition at y equal to 0? That is the center line. du dy is 0, because u is a maximum here or otherwise from symmetry. In some case it could even be a minimum, but whatever it is, it should have an extremum at the center line. So its derivative with respect to y is 0. So that means you have C1 equal to 0. Next, let us integrate it once more. So you have mu u is equal to c y square by 2 plus c2. What is the boundary condition at the other end? Boundary condition at y equal to h, that is the wall, u equal to 0, that is the no slip boundary condition. So that means you have C2 is equal to minus ch square by 2. So we have got a form of the velocity profile, and let us write that form. So what is the form? Mu u is equal to c y square by 2 minus ch square by 2. So u is equal to c by 2 mu into y square minus h square. See, it is symmetrical with respect to y equal to 0. So a positive y and negative y has no consequence because it is y square. The other important thing is y square minus h square is always less than or equal to 0, because your maximum value of y is h, but you are having u along the positive x direction. That means c must be negative, and that is what we have seen, that you must have a negative gradient of the piezometric pressure. It should be from higher piezometric pressure to lower piezometric pressure, and so this dp star dx which is equal to c is negative. So you know it in terms of the pressure gradient, and so this c is equal to dp star dx. Sometimes it is not a bad idea to write it in terms of the average velocity. So what is the average velocity? How do you find out what is the average velocity? So average velocity u average is what? Integral of u over the area of cross section divided by the area of cross section, right. So here the area of cross dA is what? You take at a distance y. So let us say that this is the channel. At a distance y we take a small strip of width dy, and dA is dy into the width of the channel. So it is integral of u dy into the width of the channel divided by 2h into the width of the channel, and the effect of the width of the channel gets cancelled out, and this is actually from minus h to plus h. Because of the symmetry, this is as good as 2 into integral of 0 to h u dy divided by 2h. So half is good enough, and you may substitute u, that is c by 2 mu into integral of 0 to h y square minus h square dy divided by 2h. So let us just complete this expression. You have u average equal to c by 2 mu into sorry, the 2 is not there in the denominator, right. This 2 is not there because it is already cancelled. So c by 2 mu into the integral of that, so h cube by 3 minus h cube, that divided by h, right. So this becomes 2/3 minus of 2/3, so that becomes minus ch square by 3 mu. So you can write c as 3 mu u average minus 3 mu u average by h square. and that if you substitute in the expression for u, you will get from this expression u by u average is 3 by 2 into 1 minus y square by h square, and clearly the form shows that it is a parabolic velocity profile. So that is the first objective that we have satisfied, that we have found out what is the velocity profile. For engineers, the next important objective, which is quite straightforward and one step from this, is to find out what is the wall shear stress. So what is the wall shear stress? So the wall shear stress is basically tau xy at the wall, that is for a Newtonian fluid okay. Remember that is mu into partial derivative of ui with respect to xj plus uj with respect to xi. So just in terms of u and v and x and y, these are substituted. At the wall v is 0, and in fact we do not care whether v is 0 at the wall, because for fully developed flow v is 0 everywhere. So we have straight away whatever effect of v is there 0. So it is as good as mu du dy, because u is a function of y only, mu du dy at the wall means you have y equal to h. So what is mu du dy at y equal to h? So you find out what is du dy. So du dy is cy by mu. So du dy at y equal to h is ch by mu, and Cu we know is that minus 3 mu u by h square. So we can write this C in terms of tau wall, or tau wall in terms of u average from this expression. One important thing is we have not substituted this with a proper sign. Remember that when you write tau as mu du dy, then that y is what? A coordinate which is perpendicular to the wall, from the wall to the fluid. So we are considering the top wall here, ideally that y coordinate should have been this one, but our y coordinate is opposite to that. So it is better to consider a separate coordinate y1, which we are talking about here, which is just like the y1 coordinate, which is perpendicular to the wall and towards the fluid. So this is basically at y equal to h or y1 equal to 0, but y1 and y, they are just oppositely oriented. So you can write y1 is equal to nothing but h minus y. So when you write this du dy at, so this may be written in terms of minus mu du dy at y equal to h, though it is mu du dy1 at y1 equal to 0, that is as good as. So this plus minus sign is with the convention of the normal of the wall. So that means du dy at y equal to 0, that is cy by mu, that is c at y equal to h, that is ch by mu. So what is tau wall? Minus mu into ch by mu, right. So minus mu du dy, and c you can write as 3 mu u bar by h square. So 3 mu u bar by h. So that is the wall shear stress. Sometimes we write the wall shear stress in a non-dimensional form. So this is a dimensional form. So the non-dimensional form of the wall shear stress is something what engineers use as friction coefficient. So friction coefficient say Cf, that is defined as a non-dimensional form. So, wall shear stress divided by half rho U average square. So, see, rho into velocity square is a unit of pressure, stress is also unit of pressure. So, this is unitless. Half has a sanctity that is like sort of represents a normalized effect with respect to the kinetic energy. So, but like it is for just for non-dimensionalization, even one may omit the half. This is just to keep the sanctity of the sort of sense of kinetic energy. So, this you have 3 mu U average by H by half rho U average square. So, Cf is 6 mu 6 by divided by rho into U average by mu, okay, rho U average into H by mu. And if you want to write it in terms of the width of the channel, this is 2H. So, this you can write as 12 by rho U average into 2H by mu. And importantly, this rho U average into 2H by mu, it represents what? It is like if you see rho into velocity into the characteristic width of the channel divided by mu, it is a Reynolds number. So, this is 12 divided by a Reynolds number based on the length scale 2H, which is the distance between the two plates. So, the non-dimensional friction coefficient, sometimes this is known as Fanning's friction coefficient, because Fanning was the person who first introduced this coefficient, Fanning's friction coefficient, that is 12 by the Reynolds number based on the distance between the, based on a length scale which is the distance between the two plates. See, for a flow taking place internally, the velocity that you are taking in the Reynolds number is the average velocity, because otherwise velocity varies over the section. So, you have to take some reference. The reference is the average velocity, rho and mu are properties, and the length scale is the characteristic length of the system, which is 2H, or even you may write it in terms of H, but then you have to clearly specify that what is the length scale that you are taking for the Reynolds number. Usually 2H is taken as the length scale. So, let us stop here today, and we will continue with the exact solutions in the subsequent lectures. Thank you.